Look at that. Yes. Oh, yeah.
What are you doing? Wizard, what are you doing?
Nothing. Just looking at the calendar, a new calendar that came in.
A new calendar that came in.
Mm-hmm.
Can I see this little pinup?
No.
Hand it over.
Fine.
Guys, you know, he normally doesn't have pinups in the shop, but really, a Lamborghini Aventador.
Yes, cars.
Cars. And a Ferrari 488.
Oh, yes, the 488.
It's a nice car, but right here in front of our 308. Have you no decency?
No. I have to dream.
You do, but that shames her so.
That's okay. She'll get over it.
Let me give you and you guys something really cool to watch. Take a peek at this.
Welcome back to the Wizard Shop, and I hope you're enjoying the new intro music from CJ Cagle. You see in our recent video kind of an introduction to who wrote the music, and there's going to be also some really cool lift music. We're going to show you guys that when we lift the car. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video because you'll be able to hear the entire lift song, all of it. It is really sweet. This guy is really good. Now let's talk about EuroAsian's bargain basement, just like the splash screen says. No, he really actually doesn't have a bargain basement, but it's kind of what this car is today. Oh, and Mrs. Wizard, I bought another car.
Shocking.
This one is mine, guys. I got it from EuroAsian Bob. I actually saw an ad on his Facebook page, I think it was, and it showed a picture of this car, but it says, coming soon, just got it in, you know. So I messaged him and I was like, what's the deal on the 420 SEL? And by the way, this is a 1989 Mercedes 420 SEL. He said, well, that one's not ready, Wizard. I have to fix a few things on it. It's not ready for sale yet, so I'll let you know when it's done. I said, no, don't fix it. I want it just like it is. And he was like, what? He says, no, there's a few things wrong with it. I'd like you to get it ready for sale so it's all up and up for you. I said, no. What's your price for the car? As is, I accept all the problems. Everything that's wrong, I'll fix it myself. So I got this thing for really cheap, as is. We're going to take a look at this car today. And unlike most of other EuroAsian Bob's cars, we are going to find problems today. There are things wrong with this car. And understandably so, I bought it that way on purpose. EuroAsian Bob actually bought this from an older gentleman who was just looking to get rid of it. It may have been a trade-in or he just sold it and did something else with the money, I'm not sure. But it's actually very nice, even with the things that are wrong with it. Let's take a look. So there it is, the front of a W126. And it does not have the Euro headlamps like the other one that's actually in the shop that EuroAsian Bob has. I may convert it over to Euro headlights. I may just leave it like it is and fix these surrounds. You can actually see it's got small holes and some cracks going on with it. But the grille is in good shape. The bumper, as you can see, is a lot larger than the 500 SEL you guys just saw from EuroAsian Bob. This has US spec bumpers, not the Euro bumpers. And it has these wheels that I really, really like on the 126s. There's all kinds of people putting monoblock wheels or all kinds of different wheels on it. These are the only wheels I'll have on a 126. I just really, really like them. I'm not sure what they call them. I'm sure there's a name for them, but they're very nice. This is like a, what is it, Mrs. Was there a charcoal gray?
No, this is dark gunmetal gray.
Gunmetal gray, okay. There are a few dents on this car. You can see one right here. I'll probably take it to a PDR guy and have some of the dents removed. They're not major dents, they're just little dings here and there. But other than that, the paint's in good shape. It's not rusted out. The glass is all intact. And one thing I like, it is not tinted. I don't like window tinting. I like clear glass. Let's take a look in the trunk. Not much going on in here. It does have the spare. It actually has air in it, which is good. Has our jack and a few other things. You can see a Nokia box over there, which you'll see the actual phone that goes to it here in a minute. Very clean, everything's intact in here. You can see it came from Wilson of San Angelo, Texas. I'm not sure if that's a used car dealer or a new car dealer, no clue. The brake lights are in good shape. And you can see the bumper. Remember I mentioned it was like a park bench? You can have a seat on these ones. You can't do that on the 500 SEL that's in the shop. Again, the paint is in decent shape. It's got scratches here or there, and there's a few more dings on this side that we'll see. You can see that this needs to be reattached, this cladding here. You can see some little scrapes or scratches. I don't know if that was from a cat walking on it or who knows.
I'm opting for cat. Looks like we've got a couple of claw marks there.
Yeah, very likely was a cat. And we go down this side, there is a ding right here. Kind of a little dent in the middle there. None of these dents are serious. There's nothing that's really bad caved in or anything. The roof is nice, and the hood is very clean. It's not faded or rusted out either. Let's take a look at the interior.
Okay, ladies and gents, here we are. Always at the steering wheel, and you can tell this does have a little bit of age. We've got a little bit of wear up here, which it kind of is kind of common because my SL 500 also had some kind of sun damage up there as well. But if we look, you can see it does have 100,448 miles on it. So even for the age, it's not a whole lot. And as good as these are, these things are built like tanks. So that's really not too much for this. You look up there at the dash, it's in really good condition. As we move down, just classic vintage stereo, and a little bit of a blemish right here. I'm looking for the cheater. I don't see anything for the radio code. Hopefully it's in the glove box. Here is our lovely vintage Nokia phone. Not going to plug it in because obviously it doesn't work, but man, that's going to be one thing that we'll need to take out and try and, well, hopefully it won't be too bad. It looks like it's in the carpet and not through the actual hard, vinyl. As we see here in the center console, we can see that the wood is the lacquer has broken, and it's given it kind of a wavy, rippley effect right here. So obviously that needs to have some tending to. It looks like the handle that was here is gone, and Wizard tells me that this switch is broken, and so we cannot put down the driver's window. He always does keep a window down in the cars just in case, for some reason the auto locks lock. Usually it's the driver's window, but not this time. It's the passenger window if you're looking a second ago. One thing that is broken is this little piece right here that keeps the cover attached. And I'm thinking that we can probably get that to work. It's pretty simple, straightforward. The rest of the slots are down below. We just need to put them in, and that's really simple as sliding them in. So hopefully, maybe we can even glue this first one and help hold in as well. I think that'll work. This car does not come with heated seats, but does have lovely dove gray seating and the door panels as well. As we check out the back seat, looks pretty luxurious back there. If you look way back there in the shelf, in one of those little boxes, it's actually the first aid kit. Those things are never in the car, and we have one. Now, it does look like maybe there needs to be some tending to on the back seat there. It looks like a little part of it is kind of puffing out. If we move up to the headliner, we can see that it's in pretty good shape. Nothing is sagging. Got a few blemishes here or there, but that is something that, we can take care of with just some good old-fashioned scrubbing. Again, we look here at the visors. Looks like we got a little bit to tend to here, but not too bad. Another little spot right there. Needs that hook taken care of, but it stays up, even with the hook not installed. So minor little things, and isn't that just the cutest little visor? I needed that the other day. Son always seems to manage to hit that one spot you just can't get. There we go. Otherwise, this is in really good shape. I wonder what the engine looks like.
Pull the tongue. And there we have the 4.2 liter V8. This one only has like 210 horsepower or 200, somewhere around in there. It's not a whole lot. This is not the 560 model, which has the larger engine and more power. You could have gotten these with an inline 6, which would be a 300 SE or SEL. This is kind of a mid-range engine and mid-range of options as well. One thing these older Mercedes have that's really cool is here's our air conditioning line, and you can see these two lines going into it are fuel lines. So it actually has a jacket inside of there that it cools the fuel very cold before it goes into the fuel injection system. And that helps to stop some of the vapor lock or things with the gasoline, especially that we have today, but back then it really helps out a lot on a hot day. Otherwise, it's fairly clean under here. One thing that I do like that I see is, other than the duct tape we have on this duct here, there's no modifications, there's nothing crazy going on. Everything is as it should be on an older Mercedes. All the wiring is intact, everything's there. So that was really a big selling point for me. You can see some of the cloth fabric is starting to come off there, but that's just from age. These do have issues with timing chain guides and tensioner and things, so when I do a valve cover gasket here in the future, we'll take a peek in there and see if it needs them. But otherwise, it runs perfectly fine. It does have a loud exhaust, and you'll hear it here in a minute. The cruise control currently does not work. Here's the actuator. But very likely it is the control module that's under the dash on the driver's side. Old belts. I'm not sure how old they are. We'll probably get all new belts on it. These are the days of a distributor. It still has a distributor even though it's computer controlled. This is the old Bosch Jetronic system, and although it's not my favorite system to work on, luckily this one actually works very well. There's one other interesting feature. Most of the newer Mercedes are this way as well, but you can see these two rubber lines. They go into the windshield washer fluid bottle. And that's actually coolant from the engine. It actually heats the washer fluid. So when you spray it on the windshield, it's nice and warm. It melts the ice really fast. I had actually just thought about buying the 500 SEL that EuroAsian Bob has here in the shop. It's almost done, just a few more small things, it'll be ready to go. But he wants $21,900 and some odd dollars. Now if you take a look at this picture here, you'll see at Barrett-Jackson, one of these that's in immaculate, perfect condition went for $45,000. And the argument could be made, what kind of idiot pays that for a 126? I mean, they're nice cars, they're not that nice, but you have to keep in mind, the value of a car is not what you think it should be. It's what someone else is willing to pay for the car. It doesn't matter what it says in a book, it doesn't matter what you saw online. A car is worth what someone is willing to pay. These are going up in value. Up, up, up. I remember you can pick these up for $1,500, $2,000 in pretty good shape. Not anymore. Now you might say, oh, I found some on Facebook, Car Wizard. There's some already out there. I bet if you go look at it, they're trashed. They're absolutely just junked out. This one is not junked out, but it does need some work. As you saw in the 500 SEL, it did have the velour seats, which is a very rare option. And after I got to looking at the car, it was so nice. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be daily driving this thing. It's possible I could get a grease stain on the seats or do something. That car that he is selling for 21 grand or almost 22 grand, it really belongs to someone who's a true, heartfelt collector who's going to probably put it in storage or something. It's not meant to be driven around and bombed around, and that's a really, really nice car. This one's fairly nice. This was more along the lines of what I needed. When it came up for sale, I told EuroAsian Bob, I'm taking it as is, so I did. Now I'm going to start this car up. You're going to hear it rumble. It's kind of loud exhaust. We'll get it on the lift. It also has some other issues I want to show you guys. So as you heard, it's kind of loud. If this was a Camaro, you'd say, man, that sounds good. I don't want my 126 Mercedes sounding like a Camaro. It should be quiet and smooth. So that loudness is going to have to go away. We need to find out where is it coming from. So let's get this thing on the lift and take a look. Hope you like that lift music from CJ Cagle. It's really awesome. Make sure you watch all the way to the end. You can hear the whole song and see a few more pictures. The guy is amazing. Let's take a look at this. You can see here that the bumper and also the cladding has been painted. It is not gray like it used to be, like a silverish gray, like most of these were. EuroAsian Bob actually had all the cladding removed and painted body color. It was looking kind of rough, and he just had it painted body color. When I first saw the car, it was almost a turn off. I was like, who does that to a 126? But after I did some searching on Ben's World and also Peach Parts forums, it's actually very common, and I never knew that. A lot of people paint their cladding body color. Kind of interesting. And here's our radiator core support with our condenser. It's nice and dry. Here's our oil pan, which does have a leak coming from the drain plug washer. Luckily it's not loose, but it needs a new copper washer on there. There is a little bit of a leak coming from a sensor on the side here. Probably just needs an O-ring. You can see this little shock right here. It looks like a shock absorber. It is. There's one on each side of the engine. This was during the days where Mercedes put a shock absorber to absorb vibrations from the engine. Those frequently go bad. The little bushings and things go bad. But these ones are still intact. Let's take a look at these wheels here. Pads are probably 80%, which is good. I do see a torn ball joint boot here, but nothing's loose. It looks like it's had recent work with the tie rod ends here. It drives really nice, but it has some brake issues. Here's where the engine meets the transmission, and it's all fairly dry as well. Oh boy, look at all that brake fluid. It's coming from the caliper. You can see it right there. So when you hit the brakes really hard, it veers to the left. And this makes sense because this caliper is leaking fluid. So there's another one of those things that would have been fixed if I allowed EuroAsian Bob to do so, but I told him not to, so now I get to do it. But I'm not complaining. I got a really good deal on the car. You can see the boot on this tie rod end is cracked. Also on this ball joint here. Not major issues, but they are issues. Nothing's loose there, luckily. Here's our transmission. It's nice and dry. Really happy about that. There is some seepage up top up there, probably coming from the valve cover gasket and leaking down. So luckily that's good to go.
What about the motor mounts?
Motor mounts, these aren't the liquid filled ones like modern ones are, but it definitely could use some new ones. I can feel that they're a little bit collapsed. I don't see anything on the exhaust so far. We'll keep moving back here in a minute and see if we find any holes or anything.
Oh no, looky there, transmission mounts.
Yep, that's all cracked. And like I mentioned before, you should be able to put your finger underneath the mount. This one's fully collapsed, which just explains some of the vibration. I have about 75 miles an hour, so it needs a new transmission mount. The flex disc, although old,
Looks good.
it looks intact. There's no cracks or anything.
No. It has a really colorful drive shaft though.
Yeah, I don't know what the colors mean. It's like a Pride Month or something.
Who knows?
Interesting. Hey, I'm fine with that. Let's leave it there. Move on back to the exhaust. There's a cat. I don't see anything rusted out there. Up above this heat shield is the drive shaft and carrier bearing. Uh-oh. I can fit my fingers in that one. Ah.
Be careful. Yeah, are you good with your tetanus shot?
Yep. Well, there's our exhaust noise. It's completely rotten through right there. I'll probably just cut them here and here and run straight through and join them and bypass these resonators here. They look like they're pretty rusted up too. Flex disc back here looks fine. Actually, it's not cracked at all. Check these brakes. They're nice and dry, luckily. The pads are nice and thick. Nothing loose. CV shaft boots are still good. Looks like it's had a recent fuel pump replacement. I think there's two of them. There's one there and one there. And then there's our fuel filter. Everything looks in very good shape there. Our differential is nice and dry. The mount on it is also good. Not all cracked up. CV shaft boots are good. Nothing loose or leaking over here. Pads are good. Our shocks are good. You can see that it does not have the SLS adjustable ride height in the rear, being that this is a 420. They got standard springs, which I'm fine with that because I don't have to mess with the SLS pump or accumulator spheres or any of that stuff. These tires look like they have good tread, but they are from, let's take a look, 2014, which makes them 8 years old now. It's 2022. You can see some cracking going on in the tread right in here. I may just go ahead and replace those tires. Even though they look like they got good tread, I don't want to risk a blowout. This exhaust is intact, or I should say the muffler, the main muffler. This thing is massively heavy. There's no holes or anything going on, so I think I'll just bypass my resonators and it'll be just fine. It may have a tiny bit of rumble, which is fine, but I definitely don't want it sounding like a 5.0 Mustang.
Wizard, I do think you need a new muffler mount.
Yes, we'll need some new mounts. That one's still holding, but barely.
Barely.
Those little donuts or whatever they're called. I haven't seen any rust though, Mrs. Wizard.
No, it's looking great under here.
All right, let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground. So is this thing perfect, like absolute pristine, like the 500 SEL that's sitting over there? Not even close. But I got this thing for under $4,000. You know, a few years ago I would have said that's too much for one of these. These cars aren't worth that. But they're on Facebook Marketplace, the nice ones. I'm not talking about the ratted out ones, the nice ones. $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, $14,000. Now I do have some things to fix, but when I drove this thing home from EuroAsian Bob, except for the brake issue and the exhaust noise, it drove perfect. Obviously I said the cruise control doesn't work, I'll have to get that fixed. But I thought to myself, if the exhaust was quiet right now and the brakes were solid, there's really nothing else wrong with this car, not majorly wrong. So I think I did pretty good, especially with the prices these things are continue to escalate. I'll get this thing fixed up and I'll probably cruise it around for a while along with my Scion. When I want to bomb around and be sporty, I'll drive the Scion. When I'm having a day where I just don't feel like shifting gears, I can let this thing do the shifting for me. So make sure you keep watching because you want to hear the rest of the lift music from CJ Cagle. I'm very pleased and very excited to have him on board as far as the music in our videos. So if you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this 126, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut. We really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because 2022 is going to be just as good as 21 as far as Car Wizard videos. Thanks for watching.